All right, so we got the homepage built, but we do have a section that is called new customers, and we want to get the latest customers that have been added. So in our case, we're just going to limit it to the last two customers that were created. In order to do this, we have to do what is called create a back-end action. And what a back-end action is a way for Dittofi to actually take something from your table and actually pull that in to your web application. So let me show you what we need to do. So we're going to click the Backend Actions button over here in the left-hand corner. And you see there's already some that have been pre-built. We have update user, get users, get user, sign up. These are already created by Dittofi whenever we imported the authentication template in order to build our web application. So if you ever get confused, feel free to look at some of them so you can actually see how it's laid out. But I'm going to walk you through how to create a new backend action. So in the top right-hand corner, you'll see new action. The first thing you want to do is you want to name this action. So in this case, we're getting new customers. So let's call this get new customers. And let's call this endpoint. That way we know that it's a backend action. Okay, now that we got that named, we have to add a trigger. And for this, we're going to call this action. Now, the reason why we call this action is because on the front end of our website, that's actually going to go to a specific web page that is hidden, not accessible to everyone, but it's going to be actually used by Dittofi's no-code editor to actually pull in those new customers. As you can see here, there's a path variable. Right now, it's set to /v1/action_19633. Now, that /v1, we're going to want to keep that consistent with all of our endpoints. But in this case, let's make this something that's actually going to be readable by us. So we'll call this get new customers. Okay. So we got that path created. Now we do need to create a response variable. And basically what a response variable is it's a way that Dittofi can actually take in the information and actually put it into a piece of code that the front end can take a look at. And I'll show you what that means here in just a second. But let's go ahead and create that variable. So click on Add Variable. Now, there are different types of variables that you want. In this case, since we're dealing with a list, we're going to choose collections. We're going to call this Get New Customers. And you have to choose a model. Now, if you remember, if we take a look at our table that we created, we have a users table that contains all of our customer information. So we're going to go back to our endpoint, click back on this add variable, choose collection. We'll call this get new customers. And we'll choose that user model. Now, this order by is what we're going to use to get the last two that were created. So if you click the plus, you can choose by ID, email, password, first name, date created. What we're going to do here is, since every time a new record is added to the table, it's incrementing that ID, we can just choose ID. And ascending means it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Descending is going to show us the latest. So it'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let's choose descending because we just want to get the last two. And then you can limit here how many you want to return. In this case, we want to return only 2. Choose save. And now we have a variable called get new customers. Now, we have to come back to the response variable and we have to choose that so that when this path gets hit by our front end, it'll actually put that into a variable that we can use in our front end action. Now, once you create that, click on build code. And I like to always choose build code and then test the action so I can make sure that it's actually returning the results that I want. So we're going to hit this big green run action. And down here at the bottom, we'll hit the yellow run and scroll down. We're getting a page 404 not found. So I'm guessing it just wasn't quite done building yet. So let's just give that a second. And there we go. We got a build complete message. So let's hit run again. Now, as you scroll down, you can see in the body the data that is being returned. So we can see Becky is being returned as well as John Smith. And that's it. We only see 2 records, which is exactly what we're expecting. If we go back in our table, we can see why we're getting this. So we can see that deployitfast@gmail.com, that has an ID of 1. John Smith at Smith Enterprises has an ID of 2. Becky has an ID of 3. Now, if you remember, we are only returning the last 2, and we chose descending order. To see what that looks like, you can click this button here, and you can sort Z to A. As you can see, it would pull the first 2 records, which is Becky and John Smith. If we look back at our endpoint here, we can see that's exactly what we're getting back, Becky and John Smith. Perfect. Now we're ready to create a front-end action. So in the next video, we're going to show you how to create the front-end action that will pull that into our web page.